Hey guys, and welcome back. My name is Simon Archer. I'm going to be doing another Swift tutorial video today. Today's video will be focusing on how to do a pop-up tooltip for your application. So you'll see in this little simulator demo project I have going here, if you tap on a button, a nice little pop-up tooltip appears, and we can just see a couple more by tapping the different buttons. And what this demo is showing you is that you can customize the look of your tooltip, as well as there's a little arrow that points to the view to which the tooltip will be associated to. So that's quite nice. We're not going to build this tooltip code from scratch. What we're going to do is use an already made piece of code that someone's kindly created for us called AMPopTip, I think it's called. So I'm going to leave this URL in the video, but you go to this GitHub address over here, AMPopTip, and you download the zip file. Alright, and now we're going to create this project as well, see what else we can do with it. Okay, cool. So let's just quit the simulator. So I'm going to create a new single view application project in Xcode. I'm going to call this Tooltip Demo for Swift. Go next, and just create it into the folder. Alright, so first things first, the AMPopTip files you downloaded, it's written in an Objective-C, and because we're creating a Swift project, we need to add a bridging header file for these Objective-C header files we're going to add to it. So to create a bridging header file, it's quite simple. You just right-click on your main folder, go New File, you select Objective-C file under the iOS section, go Next. You can call this whatever you want. So I'm going to say test file and go next. Add it to your projects. Once you do that, it's going to ask you, would you like to configure an Objective-C bridging header file? You want to say yes. This is what you need. Alright, so make sure you say yes, and a bridging header file is added. You can delete the test file.m file, which was created as well. We don't need that, so just go move to trash. So we just need the tooltip demo-bridging-header.h file. So once you downloaded the AMPopTip files, we want to unzip it. Once we've unzipped it, we go into the AMPopTip folder. We see the header file and the main file there. We're going to drag the AMPopTip folder into our project. Just drag it and drop it. If it asks you to copy items needed, you want to say yes, you go finish. Alright, so now we have the AMPopTip header file in our project. We go to our bridging header file, and what we want to do here is add import AMPopTip header file. Okay, cool. So once we have that, we can go into our view controller. Alright, let's actually first add a button. So we go to our storyboard. We throw in a button into our view controller. Tap me for tooltip. Okay, we want to then just add some basic constraints to this, put in the center of the view. Alright, so just right click onto the view that it's in. When you go center vertically, center horizontally, it's just so it's center in our view when we run the simulator. Now we want to go and add an outlet for this, so tooltip button, awesome, and we also want to add an action. Tooltip button pressed. Action. Alright, we don't need to send any arguments. Arguments can be none. Connect. Cool. I always like to add a print line in my functions I create, just so I know that when I tap the button, I can see in the console that this action was called. Alright, so now that we've done that, let's go back to our single view here. We can go out of the main storyboard. We're pretty much done there. Go to our view controller. So now we want to add the popTip. So I'm going to create a new variable called popTip. It'll be of AMPopTip. We can make it optional. Okay, alright, so now that we have the variable popTip, we can then start just customizing a little bit in the Viewdidload method. So we go solve popTip is equal to an AMPopTip. Alright. Should dismiss on tap. We're going to go true. So when you tap it, it will dismiss it. So you can just kind of follow along here. These are just some standard settings I have just to kind of like set things up a bit. So we're going to put the edge margin to 5. We're going to put the offset to 2. The edge inset equal to UI edge insets 0, 10, 0, 10. It's going to ask me to rewrite that, let them fix it. Alright. And we want to give it a color. So popover color will be of UI color. You can make it any color, but for the demo, I'm going to make it orange. Okay, cool. So now our popTip is pretty much ready to go. We just want to now present it. So let's present it when we tap the button. So in that button function, we're going to add the following code. Solve.popTip, show text. We can say, this is a popTip. Direction, so now you can position this thing on the view. Down will be below it, left will be to the left of it, right will be the right of it, up will be to above it, and this is kind of where the arrow will be. So if we make it down, it means the popTip will be below the view and the arrow will be pointing up towards the view, or to the button in this case. So we go down. Max width, we can just put it at 200. In view, so which view will this appear in? It will be in our self.view, our main view, and then from which frame. So the frame now will be kind of what are we going to be pointing to. So we'll say self.tooltip button.frame. Alright, so pretty straightforward here. When the tooltip button is pressed, we're going to call upon the popTip variable. We're going to show the text. This is a popTip. It'll be from below, so the arrow will be pointing upwards. So AMPopTip direction will be down, pointing up. The max width will be 200. It'll be in the main view, and it'll be pointing to the tooltip button. So the from frame is from where is this going to pop up from? So it'll be from the tooltip button.frame. So if we go and just run this quickly, and you'll see now we have a button, tap me for tooltip. We tap it, and then we have a popTip, and you'll see that our tooltip button pressed was called. And you tap out of it and it dismisses it. We tap it again and it pops up again. Alright, so that's a fun way to present a tooltip when you tap on something. So now a nice kind of use case for the tooltip is to walk through a first-time user to do various actions. So you can do some fun things with this. So I'm going to demonstrate how you can hop from one action to another action, having the tooltip guide you. Alright, so let me just add a couple of more controls to this. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've created 4 new label outlets, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. I've created the connections in my view controller. You can pause the video and do the same quickly and just catch up. But basically I've added these 4 outlets, and I need the 4 outlets in order to point the tooltip to the outlet, to the view for instance. So now that I have these 4 outlets, let me go back to my main view controller in a single file. So I'm going to take away the system editor and go to my main view, to my view controller. So now the aim of the game here is that when the view appears, I want the first tooltip to appear by the first step label. Then the person will tap the screen, dismiss the tooltip. Then the tooltip should appear on the second label. Then on dismiss, appear on the third label, and dismiss, appear on the fourth label. So the whole use case here is to guide the user from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4 without actually tapping a button in order to present the tooltip itself. So it'll be kind of like automated. So what we want to do is we obviously want to keep track on what tooltip the person's on, for instance. All right. So one of the ways we can do that is we can create a new variable called tooltip number. I'm going to start this number at 1. All right. And then I'm going to add my Viewdidappear function. If it's not there for you, just type it in. And then on Viewdidappear, what I'm going to do is just copy this code that we have already for the button tooltip, paste it there, and then I'm just going to say this is step 1, and then I'm going to add it to my step 1 label. Alright, so now let's launch this and see what happens. So basically the application will load on Viewdidappear. We're going to present the first tooltip on the first label, and there we go. This is step 1 on step 1 label. We tap the screen and it dismisses it. So now we want to continue the flow and now go to step 2 and then dismiss, go to step 3. So one way to do that, there's a couple ways, but a nice easy way is that I'm going to create a new function called Tooltip Presenter. You can call this whatever you want. And I'm going to do a check. So I'm going to say if tooltip number is equal to 1, then we're going to show the tooltip on label 1. So I'm just going to copy this code out of the Viewdidappear and paste it over here. Alright, and just before the piece of code I'm going to do a print line. I'm going to say showing tooltip 1. Okay, and then in the Viewdidappear I'm just going to call that function tooltip presenter. Tooltip presenter. Alright, so let's launch this again to see if it's still working. So in Viewdidappear, it's going to call tooltip presenter, which will go into the piece of code over here. I'll do a check if tooltip equals to 1, which it is on launch, then show the first tooltip. Great, and you actually see the print line code here showing tooltip 1. Alright, so self-explanatory now. Now we're going to say if tooltip number is equal to 2, we show the next one. We do an else if, and then else if tooltip number is equal to 3, else if tooltip number is equal to 4. Alright, pretty straightforward. And then for each of those, I'm just going to do what I do and add in my print line to show which one we're doing. So tooltip 4, tooltip 3, tooltip 2. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you right now that there's going to be a bit of a hiccup in what we're going to be doing now. So essentially what we would like to do is just copy this piece of code and put it in there and say this is step 2 and associate it with the step 2 label. Alright. Oh, and first of all, what we need to do is then to update the tooltip number. So once the first tooltip is shown, let's increment tooltip number plus plus. So then tooltip number will go from 1 to 2 here, and then the whole cycle will repeat. Another thing we need to do is we need to capture the tap on the main view controller. So there's a piece of code for that. I'm just going to copy it into here. Actually, I'm going to type it in, and it's called touches began. So just type touches began, and you'll see that it includes the override function for touches began. And then in this code here, I'm just going to print a line. I'm going to say the view was tapped, and then I'm going to call the tooltip presenter. Okay, so the flow here, Viewdidappear happens when the application is launched. It calls the tooltip presenter. At this point, tooltip is equal to 1. So it comes into a tooltip presenter. It knows that tooltip is number 1, so it shows the first tooltip and then increments tooltip by 1. When the user taps the screen, we'll get this, the view was tapped, and it'll show the tooltip presenter again. Now the tooltip number, because it incremented before, it's now equal to 2, and then I'll show the second label and then the third label, etc., etc., etc. So let me just show you this in action, and there's going to be a problem here, and I'll tell you why. So view did appear. This is step 1, which is great, showing tooltip 1. We're at this point here. We're going to tap the screen. The view was tapped, so we caught this touch as began event, showed the tooltip presenter again, got to showing tooltip 2, but nothing happened. So the reason for this, and it's a bit of a, it's kind of, I don't know if it's a bug per se, but it's a quirk of this pop-up tooltip code that we're using, is that when you tap the screen, the tooltip dismisses itself. And we're doing the dismissing of the tooltip and showing the next tooltip very quickly with one another, and I don't think it can handle showing two tooltips at the same time. So before you can show a new tooltip, the previous tooltip needs to have dismissed itself completely. So because there's like a bit of a dismiss animation, there's a couple of seconds that we need to cater for here, or need to be mindful of. So what we can do, and just follow the steps here, is that we put the following lines of code. So we can say popTip, which is our tooltip variable, hide. So first of all, we're going to explicitly tell the popTip to hide itself if it hasn't hidden already. Then we're going to say if popTip is visible, so this is a function of the popTip class, we're going to do the following. So if it is still visible, and generally I can tell you it will normally always be visible at this point in time because the code runs so quickly and the dismissing of the tooltip takes a little bit slower than the code. So at this point the tooltip will be visible. So we're going to add the following code. Alright, so what we've done is that if tooltip is visible, let's see what's happening here. This is equal to true. Then we're going to call this dispatch after. Now dispatch after is kind of like a time delay before calling a new function. So we're going to set the offset to 3 seconds. We can actually make this 2 seconds. And then after 2 seconds, it's going to call whatever code we put inside here. So let's actually go and put the second tooltip within this. Okay, so we've added the tooltip 2 step into this piece of code here, and we've incremented the tooltip number afterwards. Alright, so let's see this in action right now. So I'm going to add a breakpoint at the dispatch and inside of it, and also by the is it visible or not. Alright, so let's launch the application. You'll see that it's actually 3 still. Alright, so we see our first tooltip. We tap the screen. It then hits this piece of code now. So as you see, if it is visible, and if we step over that, it goes into the piece of code. So currently the tooltip is still visible. We're going to set the offset by 3. Let's just bring this in again. We're going to run it. It's going to call this dispatch after. Let's run. You'll see now it'll take 3 seconds before it hits this piece of code. Boom. And now if we look at our simulator, there we have our second tooltip. So that worked. So now we need to do the same thing for the previous, well, for the next couple of tooltips. So let's just go and do that really quickly now. So we're going to copy and paste the same code here and put it in for tooltip 3 and tooltip 4. And what we need to do is obviously update just the text inside and the views that we're going to be referencing, or the views that we're going to be pointing to. And just for some fun, let's just change these directions for each. So tooltip 4 will be coming from the up, tooltip 3 will be coming from the right. And what we can also do here is that we can set the tooltip color for each. So I'm going to say popTip for tooltip 3 equal to UI color red, for tooltip 4 popTip color equal to UI color dot not black, let's say blue. Okay, so I'm going to take away the breakpoints now. I'm going to launch the application again. Let's see what happens. Cool, so the view did appear, launches the first tooltip, then tap the screen, wait 3 seconds, step 2 appears. Tap the screen, 1, 2, 3, step 3 appears. Tap the screen, 1, 2, 3, step 4 appears. So there you go. We've created a semi walkthrough flow using tooltips, guiding the user from step 1 through to step 4, using tooltips as a guide to that. What's nice about the tooltip code is that even though it has a couple of quirks, it's nicely customizable. You can change the color of the tooltips, you can change the position of the tooltips. You can do quite a few cool things with them, and it's relatively lightweight and not so much overhead. This is a simple demonstration just showing you how you can use tooltips for first-time users. It's a good use case for that, and for other things like tapping on buttons or show a tooltip, etc. So there's a couple of cool use cases you can find for this, but overall that's how you can implement a walkthrough flow using tooltips for application. So thanks for watching. If you have any comments, please leave them below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. And that's it. Cheers.